Hi guys, today I'm back with a video for my channel that's quite long. I hope you guys don't mind that, but I wanted to tackle a monthly challenge called HUEVEMBER, which is obviously a play on the words November and, well, hue, meaning colour. And so I thought this was a bit more of an interesting challenge than Inktober, to be honest. I really love working with colour, and I'm not saying you can't work with colour in Inktober, but I felt less limited with this challenge than I did with Inktober, and I actually managed to complete a whole week of it. So I decided to tackle a scary medium. I am not a fan of acrylic paint, but I have wanted to give it a go. I've had that sort of feeling. So back when I was scared of watercolour, I had this urge to paint with watercolours, and I never looked back. And you could check out a video about my first year of watercolour and teaching myself watercolour on my channel. I'll just put it in a little thing. You click it in the top right corner, the card. So I've had these urges recently to paint with acrylics, but actually I want to paint landscape stuff, not portrait stuff, I guess, or my usual sort of cartoony stuff. And yeah, so I thought, why not just try HUEVEMBER with these colours. I've just bought a big set of LIQUITEX. They were on sale with CassArt, and it's a set of 36 pre-mixed colours. They are LIQUITEX basics, and they are lovely paints. They come in like 36mm tubes or something, like, I don't know. I can't see from here. And they're brilliant paints to work with, but like I said, I've never worked with acrylics ever. I knew LIQUITEX was a decent brand though from when I used to work in an art shop. And so I had this pack of acrylic paints that I hadn't used yet, that I'd only bought them about a month or so ago, but I thought, what a brilliant way to start HUEVEMBER as well with acrylic paints, these full set of acrylic paints. And wow, I just had to grit my teeth and attempt acrylic painting. So the media I used fully were, I think they're ProArt Polar brushes, which you can see me using there, and they are good for acrylics. I went with a cheap pack of brushes. I wasn't going to pay a lot of money for brushes for a medium that I knew nothing about, and I used my Ryman Sketchbook, the A5 one, and also of course my trusty Tombow Fudenosuke pen, and that one's the hard nibbed one, the blue barrel one. And this was my first attempt at acrylic painting. Oh my god. So I tried some kind of weird cel shaded effect, and it came out okay, but this was just a test, so I thought I'd just do like a sort of pretty girl thing. And so I decided to go and actually look up some tips, and I knew the best person to go to for this would be Lakey Fine Art. Her channel is fantastic. She's made me not scared of oils, although I haven't actually gone back to practice oils yet just because of the time constraints of oils, but she has made me not afraid of paint. So she's absolutely wonderful, and I love her channel so much, and her work is so amazing. It's nothing like I would ever be able to do. I've never been able to nail the sort of the realistic painting style, so it always fascinates me seeing artists like that. And then I watched the top 10 beginners mistakes for acrylic painting, I think it was, and that was a fascinating video, and I actually learned so much from that one video. And I went back and painted this one, which is actually my favourite of the entire week, and it was primary yellow. So the first one was like a lemon yellow. I didn't have a lemon yellow, so I just used the lightest yellow I had, which was Cad Yellow Light Hue, and then this was primary yellow. So for this I actually got a little bit more experimental and added white, ooh, and to give different variations of the hue of the primary yellow colour. And I just love this colour so much. My favourite colour is yellow, so I just really enjoyed this one so much. So I think my general fears of acrylic paints came from sort of the fast dryingness of it, even though I think my watercolour stuff dries quicker. Obviously if you're using a large area with a lot of water, then no, but I actually wait less for my watercolour stuff to dry than I do for my acrylics. And I even used a hairdryer on one of my HUEVEMBERs, so yeah, that was crazy. I thought it would be faster drying than that, and I thought that I wouldn't have time to then fix or work with it like I can with watercolour and oil, but no, it didn't dry as fast as I expected, which was a breath of fresh air, to be honest, and that completely got rid of the whole fear of not being able to work with it too well. And again, I go back in with a Tombow FUDENOSUKE pen. I pretty much just exclusively use those, other than my dip pen and the Pentel Brush Pen, I think. Yeah. So I pretty much just exclusively use those pens now. And one of my favourite things to draw is hair. So I think what I'm going to focus on from now going forward with HUEVEMBER is just drawing pretty hair. Or just hair in general. I really enjoy drawing hair, and I just want to relax and enjoy this challenge. I don't want to, as I'm pushing myself with the media, I want to work within a certain level of comfort in terms of the content, so I hope that's okay. I did try a few other things, and you'll see the other things later. I am not happy with the majority of my work this week, and you'll hear why later. But also, my ring light arrived during the week of film. Well, I already had the light, but I had the stand arrive, and which meant I could use the light. So the lighting does change a little bit in this video, and you can see my shadow and everything, because I was just using my room light at this point, and it's a bit janky, but you know. You gotta do what you gotta do. So my first impressions of acrylic were that you needed to use a lot of paint, and being used to watercolour where you use such minimal amounts of paint, I was like, oh god, I have to keep putting more paint in the palette. And when I watched Lakey's video, I then realised that I should just put paint in the palette. Don't be scared of that. Just use the paint. And I used the majority of the paint I ended up squirting out of the tube anyway, so yeah, so that was HUEVEMBER day 2, and probably the longest shot in this video because it was the one I was most proud of. I also really like balloons. I think balloons are fun. I don't like it when they pop though. So for day 3, it was a very deep yellow. I think it literally is cad yellow deep hue, and it is a beautiful colour. Easily one of my favourite colours of all time, and I wanted to paint sunflowers. Sunflowers are very symbolic within my family for a personal reason. So that's why you might see sunflowers if you visit my stall. There's sunflowers on my display. And there's a sunflower in some of my social media bios and stuff like that. So I wanted to paint sunflowers for this one. And I kind of wish I hadn't done the figure in the middle. I wish I'd just painted sunflowers. I think she kind of ruined it. Especially when I went to finalise her, because I didn't know what to do. I was like, do I ink her? Because I tried to do like a backlighting effect, and I don't think I pulled it off very well. But, you know, you can only try. And so I mixed in some oranges, and I just got to use some of the most beautiful colours. This is my kind of colour. And I got to use just, oh, they're just so gorgeous. I know not a lot of people are actually a fan of yellow and orange, which makes me sad. But yellow's been my favourite colour since year 6 or grade 6, depending on where you're from. And you're about like 10 years old, 9-10 years old maybe. And the reason I chose yellow as my favourite colour, then I actively chose it and decided I liked it. I always liked oranges, and that was from like The Lion King being my favourite movie. I know it's such a weird tangent sort of to compare. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But then I realised yellow was definitely my favourite colour when I got into Pokemon, and Pikachu is actually my first favourite Pokemon. And Pikachu's yellow. So yellow was my favourite colour, and it actually has been ever since. My favourite is no longer Pikachu. But my favourite type is electric, so there you go. So as you can see, I added an outline to it, but I think that took away the backlighting effect, so she kind of just doesn't look like she fits the picture. Maybe I should have practiced on a separate piece of paper before I drew her in, but I was already falling behind at this point, and I didn't want to fall behind because I was actually late deciding to do HUEVEMBER. I think it was like November 2nd. I was like, oh, cool, I might do that. So I think I'm using, I think it's like burnt sienna, maybe, for the centres of the sunflowers. So with HUEVEMBER, it's not super strict. I think you just have to create a image based on the hue that you're given that day. And that should be the majority of the picture, or the focal point of the picture. Another thing about acrylics that I noticed is that they're not as opaque as I thought they were. I found I had to like layer some of them up to try and, but I had to like layer them thickly. I don't know whether this is the type of acrylic I'm using, or whether it's something like I need to add a medium to thicken it, or whatever. Okay, so the next few colours I was so uninspired for. And it actually caused more delays because I didn't want to break the pattern. Because obviously when you're finished it's going to look so beautiful all in order. But I could not think of anything for the next two colours. And something I've noticed about the challenge is that there are very similar colours. So unless you're working digitally, it's a little bit trickier to get it in a traditional sort of like... It's difficult to get it accurate with traditional media, and then when you have such similar colours, it's starting to get a bit, you know, samey. So I am actually combining every 2 days into one piece now. I'm not doing each day as a colour, I am doing every 2 days as one piece, which might not be the actual theme or the rules, but you know, I just think that it works better for me. So with this, I tried to go for like a scene. Oh, sorry about that. I'll just... Okay, sorry about that. So I tried to go for like an actual scene. So there's like a snowy owl, and she's on a tree. And then I was like, can't just do an owl on a tree, I'll just squeeze someone in there, and she's reading a book. And it, oh, what an absolute miserable drawing this is. For me at least. I was just not a fan at all. I wasn't a fan of the colour that I had to use. I wasn't a fan of the idea that I had. I like owls. I don't even like snow. Oh well. So then I got some white acrylic, and this is where I noticed that the paint was opaque, in white at least. I was able to layer it quite thickly, and therefore I got an opaque finish. I don't understand the opacity of acrylic paint yet. I thought all of them were quite thick, but obviously the opacity of certain watercolours is different from colour to colour as well, so I mean it wouldn't make sense for all acrylic paint to be super opaque as well. So again, I was super uninspired, and I had this colour which it's just like a burnt orange colour, and I wasn't really a fan, and the only thing I could think of was to draw foxes. And that's what I did. I painted some foxes and a girl hugging some foxes. As you can see, I was not impressed with myself one bit with these. And I'm sorry to come across so negative, but I know when I'm proud of the work that I do, and I was not proud of this work. I think it's going to be obviously different. Some people might be a fan of this stuff, some people might not be. But I know that I was struggling massively with inspiration and motivation for these two pieces. For some reason, my phone keeps going nuts, and it's chosen now to be active. So one thing I actually did like about this piece was the texture of my sketchbook coming through on the paint, and it gives it this sort of like chalky storybook look to it, which I quite liked, so that was nice. But I chose to, after this one, I wanted to work on actual acrylic paper, and as lovely and crinkly as the pages are, like, let me grab my sketchbook, like, listen to this. Like, that's some ASMR right there. Like, as lovely as the pages go in my sketchbook when I paint in acrylic, I decided to use some acrylic paper for the next round of work anyway. So the one after this, you will see me using acrylic paper, and it's one of the pieces I'm, again, more proud of for the entire week. I think pushing yourself to draw every day isn't necessarily a problem. What I think is difficult about monthly challenges is the push to create something finalised every day. And maybe that's where I'm falling short on my challenge approach. I know some people do small things and they just do little bits here and there. I've seen someone on the Art Room Discord, they're doing tiny little square paintings, and I think that's brilliant. But I've got it in my head to have all these finished pieces, like 1 page per sketchbook, and it's going to look amazing, and yeah, and I think that's where I fall short, and I don't think I should focus heavily on that. I think I should focus on just sort of making sure I'm understanding the media that I'm using and the actual challenge itself, which is to just use colour. I think sort of rushing to get stuff out once a day, I think it should be quality over quantity, which is why, again, I'm bringing it down to 1 every 2 days. And I think if you're just rushing and rushing and rushing, then it's not going to help you. I mean, this is why I chose not to do, I think it's the Sketchbook Slam challenge that was going around on YouTube for a bit, because it's like fill 600 pages in a month. It's like 20 pages a day, and you get to a point where it's just not doable and not helpful. And I think it's working smart and not to volume that is the key to a lot of challenges. So if you ever fall short, fall behind on a challenge, don't ever kick yourself. Like, just have fun with what you can do and don't push yourself too much. So here you can see I did it on acrylic paper, and I have the, I think it's Hobbycraft umbrella. Let me see. It looks like it is. I can't quite lift it. It's got like headphones on top for some reason. So I think it's Hobbycraft own brand. I think there's like 25 sheets in it. It's like a textured waxy sort of paper that is like, it's almost like canvas. It's really cool, and it just holds acrylic paint a lot better than sketchbook paper. So I think I'm going to continue on with that. Maybe not do everything in full A4, because this one was full A4. But I actually really enjoyed this. I'm starting to understand more about acrylics, and it is amazing how you just get the colour instantly. With watercolour you tend to wash, build, and you build up all these colours, and then you have to just work into it. And even though you can get such a beautiful effect with watercolour, it's not always instant when you get the colour you want, unless you've got like a really highly pigmented professional paint, and even then you should probably still be working into it. With acrylic, you just put it down and bam, there it is. This is your colour, you're gonna have it now. And I guess oil is like that sort of flexible one where it's like you put your colour down, but no, you could do more with it. You can mush it up, you can add more colour. With acrylic I feel like it's very fixed almost. I'm not saying you can't create blends. I did try to do a blend on her hair with the hat, and it involves like I got this from Lakey as well. I have like a mop brush and I like brush downwards, like it's like a dry brush effect thing. I would call it dry brushing, but yeah, I noticed a few times I was trying to use it like watercolour and it wasn't right. Like you have to have a different mindset with this type of paint. But like I said, you put the colour down with acrylic and there it is, and it's like, can't go back now. You made your colour, you're gonna line it. And I actually am having a really fun time with really bold, flat colours instead of sort of deeper, sort of fluid watercolour stuff. I'm not saying giving up watercolour, I can't wait to go back to it. But I am determined to get a beginner's grasp of acrylic and hopefully continue it. I actually have a canvas planned. Let's just say it's going to be something involving a lot of glowy colours and a lot of dark paint and a song that I can't get out of my head. Oh, thank you, League of Legends. But I want to end this and then hopefully transfer what I've learned onto canvas, which I think will be super exciting. But yeah, so if you want to check out any of the finished pieces, I have them on my Instagram. I would super love it if you guys would go check out my Instagram. If you don't follow it, it's at Miss Jellie. I have been hanging around the 34.7 to 34.9 follower mark for ages, and I think it's like I'm nearly at 35k, but I've been nearly at 35k for so long. I'm just like, no. So if you guys want to follow it, check it out, and I guess I'll leave you here. Just watch the rest of the video now. Oh, one more thing. If you've made it this far, I love you. But also, there is a slight different type of editing for this final piece compared to the other pieces, and I didn't speed the pieces up for this final one. So I didn't speed the clips up, rather. I just cut. And I might stick with that instead of speeding through stuff. Let me know what you think. So yeah, anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. Have you tried HUEVEMBER? I would love to see what you've done with HUEVEMBER, and let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see from me, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!